Now, I hope you've heard me say this before, but the primary goal, the whole reason that the online itinerant was born, was to be able to lighten your load, to be able to make your job easier. And this came from me as an experienced teacher of the deaf, somebody who was an itinerant teacher driving around to schools that I had dead time in my car. Meanwhile, my emails were going unanswered. Meanwhile, I couldn't keep up with parents like I wanted to keep up with parents. I couldn't lesson plan like I wanted to lesson plan. And I just found myself like frazzled all the time. And the entire purpose of the online itinerant is to resolve that, not only for me, but also for you. And this year, I am fully focusing on hacks that are going to just really have impact for you so that it can lighten your load and allow you to have greater impact with your students. Because if you're like me and you just get that joy when you get to sit in front of your kiddos and work with them, and that's why you're in this, and all those other things, the IEPs, the paperwork, the emails, all of that just weighs on you and it takes away from what you love to do. That is what I am here to help you with and lighten the load. So today we're going to kick this right off, and I want you to get your cell phones out if you don't already have the app, because hack number one is to allow yourself to get access the online itinerant while you're traveling on the road. Find in your app store the online itinerant. And the brilliant thing about it is that the online itinerant, all of the trainings inside the online itinerant, they're all recorded, but they're also all recorded audio only. The second challenge that we have is that you miss these things. Here we are Tuesday night. It might be late for you and you maybe want to be here, but you can't be here every night because, excuse me, every Tuesday. And if you can't be here every Tuesday, but you want to get the information, then I want you to subscribe to the YouTube, because you will then get a notification that there is a new hack available to you, and it will be an opportunity for you to catch up on these in case you miss them on Tuesday night. So that is automatically hack number one and hack number two for you as we truly kick off the school year. And I know that you are busy and you don't have a lot of time. The whole goal of this is to present the challenge that we have in this field, provide a hack for you, and then be able to show you how the online itinerant is going to be able to make this seamless and easy for you to help you throughout the year. So there's three parts to this. You don't have to be a member of the online itinerant to be able to benefit from coming on Tuesdays and seeing what the hacks are. But if you are a member, I guarantee you, you are going to have access to some really incredible trainings and materials and tools that are just going to really help you along the way. This guy right here, do you see it? That's right. What's new? This is the button that you have inside your account and also outside the account that shows you what all is new inside the Academy. So what I'm going to do tonight is I am going to start the conversation by saying what the challenge is. What's the challenge? And then what's the hack? And then show you how inside the online itinerant, inside the professional academy, you have got a straight, direct line to be able to help you with this. Challenge number one is there's so much in the academy that you don't even know what all you've got access to, and there's no time for you to kind of really navigate it and figure it out. If this is your challenge and you are a member already, then go ahead and put that in the chat. Let me know if this is truly a challenge. I get a lot of emails from people. And that is like a blessing and a curse, right? Because there's so much goodies in here, but yet you kind of feel overwhelmed that you don't even really know where to start. So this was the first thing that I hacked this year as I dove into the fall, is that there is a brand new onboarding process for all new members, but also all old members. So when you click on this, you will go directly into the onboarding, which is just, again, short little, we call them micro modules. Micro because they're small, but it is just a short little tidbit of information to show you exactly what you have as a member of the Professional Academy. So it shows you all the all the branches of this amazing program that you have, and then also how to navigate it, and then also just how to get started. Okay, challenge number 2 that we are tackling head first this year, uh, assessing. Anybody struggle with assessing students and then using the assessments to write your IEP, get your present levels, write a report, oh my gosh, and then do goals. And now you have to teach the goal. Now you have to teach the goals. You're like, I don't even know how to teach these goals. There's a number of new assessments for you that are designed to really help you with this process. The whole point of it is to be able to make it so that you can get some great information about your students, write a report, reflect it in the IEP, and then have the goals that you need or that figure out how you're going to be able to support your student through this. So we've got 3 of them that we're going to talk about tonight. The first one is called the Service Delivery Rubric. All right, so this is the question of how much time does the student need? And not only how much time does he need with you as the DHH teacher, but how much time in special education, right? Do you have a 3rd grader who actually has language deprivation and they are now in the 3rd grade and the only time that they get pulled out is for speech and language and a little bit of whatever DHH time or special ed, but you're not there for very long, so you're not really able to support them? And, or do you have students who are really just rocking it and you're trying to figure out, do they even need special education? Or what is that even going to look like for you? This is the service delivery rubric. This service delivery rubric is going to look at all of the components that a student brings into the classroom. So their background knowledge, their language access, their hearing loss, how, regardless of how they communicate, whether it's in sign, whether it's with listening and spoken language, but also how well do they get along with their peers? How well do they know how to advocate for themselves or how to self-empower themselves? And you get to fill this all out. You will want test scores for the beginning of this because the beginning has you filling in a lot of information about what type of hearing loss they have, what is their access to language throughout the week, what is some of their standardized assessment scores. All of that kind of makes up how a student is going to perform within the classroom. So you want that information with you, but if you have it, then this goes really fairly quickly. So when you fill all of this out, I'm going to scroll a little quickly because there's a lot to cover tonight, but if you are a member, you'll be able to download this. This is now in your account. When you get this all finished, then here is the scoring and the recommendations for that student. So you can provide the score, you can provide a recommendation, and you guys are gonna love me. There's a report template. So here is, you can actually like copy and paste this and put it into your IEP, and here is your report. Now, what is not in here? What is not in here is a student would benefit from 90 minutes a week with a DHH teacher. That is not in there because it just is going to look very, very different depending on what the resources are within the school and how the school is designed and how your schedule is designed. But what it will say is will need some significant academic support, and it even goes all the way down to, or needs very minimal support, but it does go all the way down to we need to talk about if the mainstream environment is where we need to be. And it helps open up some hard conversations that otherwise can be very difficult to open up. And it provides you the opportunity to really brainstorm well with your IEP team. Now, there are 2 versions that you can download. One is just the one that you can write on, you can print, but the other one is a digital self-scoring one. So you can download this one, and it is fully You can click and it will score it for you when you download it. So it makes it really easy. You've got the assessment, you've got the recommendation, and then you've got the report template. And of course you want to modify it, right? You want to make it fit your student, but it is a nice guideline. Okay, next challenge is you have a student who you think would benefit from sign language, but you're not really exactly sure how to teach them sign language. And an interpreter is not the right fit for them yet because they don't know sign language. But there isn't anybody else that can teach them sign language except for maybe you, and you don't really know the best way to go about that. That is the challenge. Anybody experience that? Okay. You are not alone, and that this hack was created to be able to support you in creating sign language lessons and knowing exactly where the student is at and being able to actually provide a developmental checklist for them. And what is unique about this particular checklist, I have not found another one like this. This is what makes it exclusive from the online itinerant. You'll notice that this is not called an ASL development checklist. This is called a sign language development checklist, which covers ASL. Absolutely 100%. It accounts for our students who are ASL. But there are a lot of hard of hearing students out there who would really benefit from sign, who maybe are not ASL students. And we use the buzzword ASL quite a bit. But if we're looking in a lot of these assessments with the benchmarks of ASL, there really is a lot of check marks that have to do with grammar and some components of ASL that maybe our hard of hearing students do not exhibit as much because they are accessing their auditory channels and they just need support. They just need to have that sign supported speech in for themselves to be able to get that full access. So this includes that. It includes all sign language communication modes. So sign exact English, ASL, pidgin, or conceptually accurate sign language, whatever you want to call it. And this is not quite released. This is the one thing that did not get launched today, but it is coming soon. It is the entire audit proof bundle. So what this means is you have the pre-test and the post-test, but then you also have the results from the post-test will take you directly to your IEP goals. And then the IEP goals have with it linked activities and lessons, because this is the other challenge is you maybe just don't exactly know how to do that. I have a lot of people that ask me for workbooks, they ask me for curriculums, they ask me for all kinds of things. And my answer is don't do that. Don't do that. Just engage in normal conversational sign, make it super meaningful, but then that puts that all on your shoulders. That requires you to be the person who's kind of looking for those materials. I am taking that off your plate for you, and I've got it for you. I'm going to show you the lessons in a minute, but you're going to get a sense of what I'm talking about when I move on to this next challenge. And that is, it's related. It's related because that challenge is now we have a student who has a sign language interpreter, and they're maybe not looking at the sign language interpreter, or they're not using the sign language interpreter. And so maybe the discussion on the table is, do they really need the sign language interpreter, or do we pull the sign language interpreter from them since it's a very expensive service and they don't really appear to be using it anyway? So if you have not yet seen the audit proof IEP goal banks, these are game changers for you. These are game changers because every single one of these that we have provides you with a post-assessment, a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. So beginning of the year and end of the year. From the assessment, it gives you the perfect goals for your student based on how they did on the assessment, and you can then modify the goals to be able to tweak it exactly for your student. But then within there is all of the activities that you need to be able to teach the goals and that whole thing about data collection, that just we go, oh my gosh, data collection for all of these kids, for all of these goals. The data collection sheets are included in it for you. So you can keep an easy running record data collection on all of your goals wherever you go. So you'll see there are actually a number of audit proof goal bundles in here. We've got one for self-advocacy. These came out last year. Self-advocacy, self-identity. Those two were the first ones I created because those are the skills that are hard to measure. Those are the skills that many of us feel are really important for our students, but it's really hard to get a percentage of how they're doing or what they need. And so it's difficult to write a goal. And I can't tell you how many IEPs I have inherited that will say something along the lines of, the student will raise their hand and ask for repetition when they didn't understand what the teacher said. And isn't that the hardest goal to measure? Because how do you know if they understood what the teacher said? How do we know if they didn't understand and they didn't raise their hand, or if they just understood? How do we measure that? We don't know. Well, all of the goals within here are all measurable. And again, the lessons are embedded in them so that it's concrete for you, so that you've got that. So self-advocacy, self-identity was started last year, and they were the first ones to start because they're the hardest to observe and measure. Transition was then added. Transition basically starts from middle school on. So all of the self-advocacy goals starting in middle school get embedded into the transition section. This one looks a little bit different because the lessons and activities are not on the skills checklist. So that one looks a little bit different, but it's actually all the same, all the exact same information. This is the new one, and the next one that will be added by the end of the week is the sign language development. But this is what this looks like. Inside of here, we have the directions, the information for you, and you will download your own copy. So this means you're going to make a copy for your student. Let me see if I can just show this to you, because this should work beautifully for me tonight. You get to make your own copy and you will name it for your student. So I am going to call this TS, that stands for test student. That's how I know that this isn't a real student. And then you've got all the directions. You've got everything that you need to know. There is a note on auditory excess. Because as we know, kids that function as hard of hearing, they use interpreters very differently than our kids that have a severe or profound hearing loss do. So we talk about that. That is just kind of brought to the front. And you will see here then, here are all the skills that you can check off for them. And then the lessons and activities are right in here for you. If you can use them to assess a student, or you can use them to be able to teach the skills. So we've actually got a level 0 on use of an interpreter. That is just to help you identify if somebody is ready for an interpreter, if an interpreter is the right fit. And guess what? If they don't score at least 3 out of 4 on here, then there's little recommendations. Okay. If they don't score a 3 out of 4, let me just make this bigger. Then it says we need to have a different conversation. Instead of a sign language interpreter, maybe we need to talk about a deaf language model, or we need to have somebody in place who is fluent in sign, but they're not going to be that machine who is just interpreting, because the child isn't ready for that yet. And then we need to go back and we need to start looking at language and building their sign language development, which is the activities that will be released in a few days here. So you get the recommendation, and if they score that 75%, then you keep going. And there is actually an entire unit on using an interpreter. And we're going to get to that in 1 second. But here we go. We went from that score. Here is the audit proof goal bank. Again, it has your directions. Here is your goal. Here is your primary goal. And here are objectives. And you can choose however many objectives you want to put in there. Some schools require 2, some schools want more, but you can choose your objectives in there underneath that goal. and it's done. Now you've got your goal. But then again, now when it's time for you to teach the goal and work with the student, you have all of your activities right here. And I'm going to show you this in a second because this is a whole unit about using an interpreter. This was created because I recognized the need for the entire population of us who are working with this unique group of kids. And I can't tell you how often I hear about especially these hard of hearing kids who their question is on the table of, do they really need an interpreter or not? And how often do I see interpreters put in place before a student is ready to have an interpreter and they're maybe not using the interpreter? It doesn't mean that they don't benefit because they don't have language access. So we need to either talk about how are we going to provide language access, or we need to really help them learn how to use that interpreter. This was designed, if you struggle with that too, this was designed for you. Okay, so those are the new assessments that we've got going on in here. Anybody excited? Anybody else excited? I'm just like, I'm so excited about these great materials we've got. Okay, now this kind of lines up with some of those things. I want to show you this a student's guide to using an interpreter. So this again, this comes right from that audit proof goal bank, but I know not everybody is going to even use or put an IEP goal on using an interpreter, even though I love it, but you might not for whatever reason, but you can still access these lessons and teach a student how to use an interpreter. This whole section has got all of these benchmarks, if you will. And if you take a peek inside, just give you a little look. Each lesson has got a little video and then the teaching point. And there's no audio on the video, by the way. So you get to provide the audio as you read it. But I am a big person in role playing with students to be able to make it meaningful. So on the next section, when you go, you get to have role play scenarios. So feel free to take your phone right now, get your QR code, because this allows you as the teacher to have your script in front of you and then to be able to walk through or talk with the student and role play out. But here's your scenario, and you can see what the script looks like here. Let me just open it up on my phone right now. Now, you don't need the app to be able to do this. You can do it on any tablet, of course. But I'm telling you, you guys want the app because it is nice to be able to access the toolbox from your phone or anything like that. So here we go. Here's the, and it gives you what your student objective is. That might be backwards for you, but it gives you the student objective, it gives you their scenario, and then it gives you the teacher prompts and everything that you need to do to be able to support your student. And then you walk through this step by step. And you get to role play so that you're not just talking to a nodding head, but you're actually giving your student the skills and helping them truly prepare to use them as soon as they leave your session. Next challenge. We are working, we as the field, okay? We as teachers of the deaf in general, but obviously not exclusively teachers of the deaf. Your SLPs, your interpreters, everybody. There are more kids who have multiple disabilities, and they're on your caseload, and it's maybe a challenge because you're not exactly sure how to work with them. Anybody else have that challenge? It's not only you. I am hearing more and more and more about our students with additional disabilities, some severe additional disabilities that we are working with. And here's a little plug for our upcoming meetups this year. Now, vocabulary check for you. Our meetups are our Thursday nights trainings. It's a bonus training for you, but it's live. And so we get together. It's not me talking. We've got a guest speaker. And we've got multiple sessions this year on working with kids who are deaf with additional disabilities. So we've got 2 trainings on deaf plus autism, and then we've got 2 trainings this year on deaf with significant other disabilities. So if you are working with them this year, you are going to love the Academy. And I see Mary Beth says she's got 3 on her caseload this year. this on here posts the pre-emerging language activities. Okay. Pre-emerging means they don't have any language yet. They don't have any language yet. And you're working with them and you're trying to figure out, what are we even working on? How do I support this child? So this is great for our deaf with additional disabilities. It's also great for the littles. If anybody is working birth to 3 and you've got babies that you are working with and you want to teach parents what skills they can do with their child that will really start building that language even at an early age, then this is a perfect activity for you. This is an infographic that talks through lots of different activities. And then here are the activities. And by the way, we are supporting our Spanish speaking families this year, and I have it in Spanish for you, so you can share it with your Spanish speaking families. The Online Itinerant has a strong commitment to support our families on both sides of the border. So you will see Spanish trainings, you will see Spanish handouts, and they are growing a little bit at a time. But in addition, the Online Itinerant, January of 2027, so we're talking a year and a half from now, we are going on a trip to Cozumel, Mexico to work with some students in Cozumel. And we are traveling by boat. So we will be on a cruise to travel to Cozumel, Mexico to work with some students, and there is going to be a fabulous group of people on board. Watch your emails for more information. I'm thrilled to be hosting Keith Wan. Anybody know who Keith Wan is? He is a sign language comedian. He's so funny and so nice, and he is going to be joining us on the boat. So you get to hang out with me and with him and with some pretty other amazing people that I can't quite announce yet, but it's going to be great. Okay. Next thing, and this kind of goes along with it, and we go right back to the conversation of, all right, now I really want to be able to support my student who signs, but how do I do that? A lot of people ask me about worksheets. I'm personally not a big fan of worksheets. I am really a fan of give and take conversation and the natural language exchange that builds our language. So inside of here, I'm going to click on here again, just so that you see where we are. You have this in your account. It's called What's New. And anytime something is new, I will add it to this page for you. So always check it. Always check it so that you can see what is new for you. And then you'll always know, because I know there's a lot of goodies in here. Now, I just clicked the ASL development and it brought you into the language building section, because any of these activities, pretty much any of them, will support any language development, whether it's listening and spoken language or whether it's sign. But if you scroll down, we've got a bunch that are specific, that are great for our ASL kids. We've got a number of wordless language prompts. If you have had any trainings on working with kids with language deprivation, you know that wordless language prompts are fantastic. So we've got, starting here, we've got just pictures, all kinds of pictures. And they start with the theme. We've got fall theme, winter, and spring themed prompts. So I'll show you this. Click right here, and here it's just a picture. It's just a picture, but you can talk about, these are things that maybe your student experiences in their life, but they don't have the language to really talk about it. So you've got the pictures that there's no words here. You can just pull and expand their language wherever they are at. So we've got the picture file, if you will. And now we also have a list of wordless storybooks. And then we've got wordless shorts, wordless videos. Super sweet. Really a great way to expand a language. But here we go, the ASL stories. So we've got book titles that are all signed. And then I've told you how long they are too. So then you can just click right on the book and you've got the signed version of it. And I've got titles that are A to I, and then titles that are J to Z, but then also seasonal stories. So I actually started with my students today. Well, actually, I started with David Goes to School. No, David, anybody know that story? And we talked about that story. It was so much fun. That was my first day of school, and I got to have it right here on my computer. So we'll be doing lots of Halloween and Thanksgiving stories. I just love having the books. And if you're not familiar with Keith Wan, then I've got a whole section of Keith Wan stories. So if you are going to cruise with us, then you can kind of get to know Keith a little bit ahead of time by watching his videos in the ASL development section. And also inside of here, I've got the Daily Moth. Now, if you are familiar with the Daily Moth is an ASL news program. So it's like just little short little news videos, and you can see exactly how long they are. So this one is 10 minutes, this one is 3 minutes, this one is 2.5 minutes. So you can really show your students these well, daily news tidbits and great discussion points. And inside of here, we've got the discussion questions for you. The only other things that I want to make sure that you know about is that we've got two new deaf identity lessons, Sarah Tubert and Peter Danielson. So Sarah Tubert, she has got a facial deformity, that she's got a facial paralysis that she really struggled to work through. She shares her story about how she found herself. And then same with Peter Dankelson. He has started a band called Pete's Diary. He wears a Baja and he's got atresia. So just some really great kind of role models for our students. You get to read about them, you get to watch a video, and then every lesson has a compare and contrast. Sarah lost her hearing, and she worked after she had an accident, and that it destroyed her hearing. And so then the student can read about her and say, yeah, I lost my hearing too, or no, I was born with a hearing loss. You get to really pull out some of these topics that we want our kids to understand and talk about. And same with Peter. Then we've got some cool handouts. These are great for home, but also for school. Look at this one, understanding background noise. This is a fantastic infographic that you can share with your teachers, and you can talk about small group work with them, and it will just really help them understand why background noise will absolutely kill the communication of a child with hearing loss. And then we've got our Spanish speaking resources. So these again are available to you. And if you have any Spanish speaking families, they can get the Friend Academy, where we have we've started off with 3 Spanish trainings here. They're interpreted in Spanish, I should say. So we've got the Spanish translation and the Spanish captioning for them. And then we've got a bunch of brand new trainings. I'm really excited about all of them. Reading the audiogram, learning how to use Canva to make your own materials, language instruction techniques for kids with language deprivation, the behavior management for kids who have hearing loss, and monitoring students' progress. That's for like literacy. If you need to do some progress monitoring for literacy, this is your training right here. Kalina Powell is an awesome influencer. She's deaf and she's really inspiring. So she is a great training for you to watch, but also to show to your students, and collaboration techniques with Mrs. Funk. And then we've got our bonus trainings that are coming up this year. So again, we've got the queuing, September, October, November. Then we're going to actually pair that with a literacy training for using books with deaf and hard of hearing characters. Then we've got our 2 autism trainings. If you heard Ashley Norkis last year, she is deaf-blind. She is really just inspiring. She is going to be coming back and talking about working with kids who are deaf-blind and deaf plus. And you can see that there is just some really practical and helpful things inside the academies.